ask you what strategies that your club might be using to onboard new members into the Pathways program. And if you, those of you online, if you could put your comments in chat, and those in person, just raise your hand, and we'll be looking for a quick response or a shorter response on the question. Anybody?
Set up mentors to walk people through choosing the path and helping them.
So, yep.
Okay.
So, the one club, the downtowners, they assign a mentor who will help the new person to sign in and become active in Pathways. Anybody else, Keith?
When we have new members join the Queen City, we actually run a membership orientation session for multiple new members at once, and through shared screen technology, just kind of demonstrate how to log into Toastmasters website and choose a path. So, group orientation.
Yeah, group orientation. Anybody else? Anything online, Mark?
I have one-on-one conversation for a new member orientation with a mentor, having a Zoom meeting and assisting them in going through the steps because it is a little bit complex when you first start.
Okay, initial orientation meeting, excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
You know, last year we had some members, so speakers attend the district held Pathways orientation section. I'm not sure if that's happening this year.
Last year, some of the members from civil speakers attended the District 42 sponsored Pathways training. And I think all of those are good ideas. And actually, I use probably all of those in what I do, and plus a little bit more. And what I'll do today is just to share the process that I use to onboard new members and maintain their activity in Pathways over time. So that there's 2 steps to Pathways acceptance, and that's both signing in, get your path, but also continuing and working through and being active. And the result for the club is you will have members achieving completing levels within Pathways, which shows that they are, they're going to be gaining something out of the program. So now I'll talk about 4 strategies that I've been using. The first is the process for Pathways orientation, and there's a handout for that that I've included in the email that went out to all of our members, as well as the handouts. There's 4 handouts, one for each of the topics that I'll be discussing, and that'll be put into chat as well. Process for mentoring a new member. So ensure there's a standardized process for mentoring. It's being followed. And 3, use a Pathways progress chart. And that's again included in one of the handouts. And a multiple meeting sign-up sheet, which we're sending around here at the BLT meeting as well. And which works very well if you have the more people you have in person versus online. And I'll have a question and answer session. As Lynette mentioned at the beginning, I'll have a short question and answer session after each one of these 4 topics. And I don't know how anybody here like playing X and O's, but at the end, we'll be testing your knowledge, see if you picked up anything from what I passed on to you today. So we'll have a little X and O's, the online team versus the in-person team. We'll see who's gonna win today. I think the in-person is out numbering the online, but so be it. Life isn't fair. So orientation of new members. For orientation within Wild Oats and Wascana Club, we use the online software that's available. We use Zoom. Others may use a different program. That allows that one-on-one conversation to happen quite easily. You don't have to get together and organize a room that you might want to do something like this. So it's ideal for online. Usually takes, I would say, probably pretty close to the 60 minutes, 1 hour to go through what I cover off. And that's both the Toastmasters International website, where they sign into the path and we're going to use for all the details for pathways, as well as the club website. So two aspects. Both for a new member are a little bit, is something that they might hesitate to take on without that extra encouragement. So the new member shares the screen, I lead them through. And it can be one member, one-on-one, or one member with a group. Kathy's with the Mosaic Masters Club in Esterhazy, and that's the group session we use there because we have 20 plus members joining all at the one time. How do you orient them? Are we going to take 20 hours? Or are we going to take maybe 5 hours? That's the process we use there. Wascana Club this last year, we had quite a few new members join all at the same time. And that's the process I used. And I found that it still took 1 hour. Whether I had one person or 4 or 5, it still took the 1 hour. So that if you can do it as a group, it's going to save you some time and be just as effective. And there's the handout that I have. So for those individuals in Mosaic Masters that were doing the training, they had that particular handout to provide some guidance for them on that. So we had like that consistent product that was being provided to the new members. Now for first thing I'll do would do is orient them into the Toastmasters International website. So help them to sign in. That's the first step. And sometimes people can get a little confused. Just having that extra person there just to help them can make a difference and save them a lot of time. And to access Basecamp. And once we do that, then help them to choose a path. So there's a couple of different steps that I use for helping them to choose a path. There's a door to shut. First thing that I do is to help them and show them the path options. So on the screen on the bottom left corner, there's a box that they click and it shows all 11 paths right now. And it's a little confusing when you have that many paths and some are going to be going on, some are going to be disappearing. So I just focus in on the 6 that would be moving on. And the purpose for this is to show them that there's not a lot of difference between the 6 paths. What are the exact differences? So it allows them to feel more comfortable selecting a path. First thing I do is look at the presentation mastery path. That's the one that sort of comes up as recommended on the when you look at the 11 options. Show them level 1, no differences. Level 2, there's maybe one project that's different consistently. And for the level 3, 4, and 5, there's one required project, and all the others are electives, and the elective lists are pretty much the same as far as I can see. So it helps them to feel more comfortable. Then I show them one of the leadership related paths, and then just demonstrate here. This is all the difference. The only main difference is the required projects for levels 2, 4, and 5. So then they're ready to take the assessment. So there's assessment option on there in the bottom right corner in the slide. There's a little box for them to click. They take the assessment. It takes like 2 or 3 minutes for them. I go away and because I'm doing lots of talking, just like I am today, and allows them to go through, look at what the options are, highlight the top 3, try to ignore the ones that aren't going to be going forward. That'll disappear after October 9th. So don't have to worry about that. And it's fairly easy for them to make a decision on that particular point. I'm feeling pretty sure. I think pretty much every time they've been able to make that decision. Before I started to do some of this, that was one of the hardest things that they were unsure about which one to take. So it's a little bit overwhelming. So the next step is to help them actually find, how do I find Basecamp, find the path that I'm selected, open it up, let them see the 5 levels, and then get into the icebreaker speech, help them find the icebreaker speech, and then just review that at a high level. We don't have enough time for them to actually go through everything. just show them, you know, you can click through it. There's videos, there's little questions, there's questionnaires. Highlight that. Do the first set of questions, do the second set of questions when you're done, and then the project will be marked as complete. And if you don't do that second survey, your vice president of education will be bugged. And that's so easy to miss. So hopefully maybe in the new program, that might be a little easier for our members to do. The next step, I'd also highlight some key downloads, the evaluation form, so they know what the evaluation form is all about. Just highlight the key things for the 3 pages. A key thing to highlight is the 1 to 5 rating scale. It's very subjective, so don't worry about the score. It's all relative and they vary from person to person. They give you different scores. And then there's the icebreaker speech outline worksheet. That is an excellent resource for a new member to the first page to sort of brainstorm what they're going to be talking about. And then the opening body conclusion, some guidance in each one of those. Now we move into the club website. So for the clubs I'm a member of, we use the Free Toast Host website. So that's what I'll be talking about today. Help them sign into the website again, just to make sure they get in okay. Shows them some of the key functions on the agenda. One of the key things is, well, to actually sign up for a role. So hit the sign up button, and magically they're assigned to the role. There's a little X on the left side that I circled. Click on the X if you can't make it to the meeting, and the vice president of education, the Toastmaster, your mentor, gets notice, and we'll find somebody to fill the role for you. And you can also confirm that you're going to be there. How to move between meetings, that's another key function. They need to know, hit the arrow to the right and you go to the next week's meeting. You can there's a drop-down menu that you can use to go several meetings into the future, or you can go into the past. And if you have time, you might go through some other functions. I think the amount of information that I've been providing in that hour is probably, they can do that on their own, discover it. And then I help them to sign up for roles for 5 weeks into the future, the introductory roles initially, and most importantly, make a commitment on their icebreaker speech. They're not leaving this meeting until they've said when they're going to give that icebreaker speech and they signed up for it. And I've helped them to put their path and the icebreaker speech into the actual agenda so that it's ready to go for the evaluator for them. It'll be up to the mentor to take it to the next step. So any questions about orienting new members? Catherine.
Do they have those big group ones? And you're into the club website, like, do you find you're still able to get the icebreaker scheduled and, you know, what, say, larger groups?
Yep. Yeah.
Is there still the option to change your path in that first 30 days for any members?
I have done it. We have done it. I'm not sure what the timeline is. Somebody just changed their mind. It's only happened once. So, because what I try to explain is it's really not a lot of difference. It's not the end of the world. You'll get just as much out of one as the other. Hopefully, but some people are a little more, at least one person is.
What are the 6 paths that are moving forward?
What are they? I don't know them offhand, but if you go into the website under where you list 11 paths, when you're selected, when you're that one option to review them, the ones that are disappearing, they got a big long text saying they're disappearing. So it's pretty easy to identify when we're going there. And just check on the Toastmasters International website under pathways, and there's FAQ. Don.
Well, if you want to do one of the pathways, that's retiring.
What if you want to do? That's Don is asking what if you want to do one of the paths, and that's fine. But for new members, I don't recommend that. I mean, they could. Nobody's
Do you have 2 years of internship?
Yeah, I've got a few, at least, oh, I've got one that started. Like, but that was pre-21. Now, no, maybe I actually have two that are 2 out of the 5 that I have open. All right. Okay, one more.
You mentioned about doing the pathways, and then you said that there's a leadership. Can you give them a little insight into that, the leadership pathways? What do you mean there's 2 different things?
The question was, what's the difference, or what are the difference, like the leadership versus the communication path? In the descriptions of the paths, you have presentation mastery, engaging humor, and you have dynamic leadership, leadership development. So that's what I meant.
Oh,
So the required projects are related to leadership in the leadership ones, and the required projects are related to presentation or humor in the case of the humor.
I found that the paths being retained are dynamic leadership, engaging humor, motivational strategies, presentation mastery, persuasive influence, and visionary communication. The paths being dropped are effective coaching, innovative planning, leadership development, strategic relationships, and team collaboration.
So it's 5 lost, 6 kept. All right, I'll move on to my 2 minutes has gone by. I'll move on to the next follow-up by assigning a mentor. So again, for my experience, 1-on-1, that's the best. Assigning a mentor, have them continue on, but you can also do a group mentoring, and that's what I found I've had to do with the Wascana Club. We've had quite a few new members coming in and not enough experienced members to reasonably expect them to take on all of those full-time and just take full responsibility. So we have a group mentoring meeting once a month, first Monday of the month. And that's an opportunity for these proteges to decide what they're going to talk about, brainstorm some ideas, share their draft, practice their speech, get a little bit of education material. We put on a little education session. And then after that, then we follow up with an individual, not necessarily the same one every time, with them to help them through their icebreaker speech. And then each time they do a project, then it could be a different person. And I have a document, a handout that I use to train the mentor. So we have a standardized process for mentoring. So we can feel more comfortable that the proteges are getting a quality mentor experience. So the steps, I recommend using the Pathways Mentor Program if you have a like one-on-one mentoring for that particular mentor. So you need to have completed level 2 to get access to it. It works really nice. For the short-term project, that's the icebreaker speech. The long-term project, complete level 1. That's, in 6 months. That's probably not, maybe a little longer than 6 months, depending on the individual. And it has lots of tools available, and irrespective of whether they're in the program or not, they can get access if you give it to them, if you have access, is the key of education. So the mentor communication tracking log, that's the key document that I use. And I use it, it allows you to plan what you're going to be talking about. So we got debates, and we got places to put what you're going to plan, what the outcome of, what the action items are, what decisions were made. So it's basically an easy way to have minutes. Easy to, and you can put it in the file. And next time you mentor that person, you have that basic information. You meet with them, you have that basic information, and you create another document, and you can look back on it. So there's also the mentor protege self-assessment. So both of you, mentor and protege, can do a survey to see what the expectations are, so you have a better relationship. And there's a protege success plan. So you can work with them, maybe not at the first meeting, the second meeting, to develop their short, medium, long-term plans. If you goals, so if you help them to meet their goals, that's going to help them continue on engaged in the program. And there's also a little survey sort of evaluation of how things went. So to do that at the end. And they can just do that themselves, share it amongst themselves if they want. If you're vice president of education, maybe halfway through, you can have them do that just to share amongst themselves, just to see if there's anything, making sure that there's a good relationship going on. And if they haven't, they're working in level 2 and they haven't quite finished it yet, then you can share these tools with the mentor. And then initial meeting I'd recommend between the mentor and the protege is as soon as possible. And I'd suggest setting it up over an hour. It's easiest to go through Zoom, but if you can meet somewhere where you can sit and talk, because you don't have to have Zoom to do this particular meeting. Talk about share that self-assessment document with each other to make sure you're, two people that can work together. Start working on the medium, short, long-term plan. Confirm the date for the icebreaker. That was set up at the orientation meeting. If possible, I like to have the mentor attend the orientation meeting, and that they have a good start going forward. And review the icebreaker project to help them with their putting their deciding on a topic, helping them to brainstorm some things that they might want to talk about, and set the timelines. What I recommend is the individuals, they have their draft put together 2 weeks prior to the speech, and sometime about a week before to meet with the mentor to go through the speech, practice it, get a little bit of feedback. That definitely increases their confidence when it comes to the actual presentation. So you've actually given the speech to somebody. And so that's that first initial presentation's over, and then you can go on to with more confidence to the real presentation in front of the group. A meeting prior to the speech. So this is where I recommend you have on Zoom so that they can actually give their presentation, to provide some feedback, and set the date for the next meeting, which is after the icebreaker, and repeat for each of the projects as they've worked through the 4 projects in level 1. So any questions about this part? Don? What was the question?
Is there anything else that you provide mentorship for? Like, I guess, like if there are questions about area, district, division, like when people with that. Do you talk about that when you start talking about different opportunities?
That would be, yeah, that's not, I haven't actually put, the question was related to, is there some discussion of things outside of the club, I guess, that's available outside of the club. It's not something that I've written into the documentation, but the focus initially is to get them to get that icebreaker.
Brad.
Okay. Yes,
Oh.
online.
Yeah, online. Daisy had a question just as we were going into the mentoring program from the last segment, and she was asking, do we introduce meeting rules first or the pathway?
Pathways first and then into the club website.
Thank you.
I understand that question. Yeah. Keith had a question here.
How does the club prepare the people who will become mentors? To put it another way, does any member become a mentor? Is there a selection process for mentors? Do people volunteer or are chosen? How do you select people to become mentors for the members?
For me, I guess depends how desperate I am. Ideally, you'd finish level 2, but at a minimum, finish level 1 because they've gone through and they've done at least one evaluation. They've got some feedback on it. They've done the 4 projects, so they can provide some kind of advice based on their experience. And then for the group mentoring, then those are the people that have that extra little bit of experience. That's who I invite to the group mentoring sessions and get as volunteers to help them through each of the projects. Any other questions?
Any suggestions for like re-engaging someone who's become disengaged?
So the question was related to is there any suggestions for re-engaging somebody that's stepped back or lost interest, or maybe they slipped through the cracks, I guess. Probably, I don't know if they have a mentor, then the mentor just sitting down with them, and, you know, probably maybe the short, medium, long-term goals to review those, like a one-on-one, either DP Ed or could have that as well if there's just a few, and maybe the mentor relationship they didn't get as much as they thought they should have out of the mentor relationship, so it could have been a breakdown there that was missed. My thoughts.
I mean, one thing part of that would be when people initiate the relationship with the mentor or with the club. I think there's like a new member profile document you mentioned as one of the available resources, where the people can put in writing what their goal is for joining Toastmasters. And so if that's on file for every member, if a person is engages, you can kind of use that document and say, okay, well, when you join, these were what you were interested in, you know, have we been able to help you or those
New goals.
but
Yeah,
I think have a document those.
So Keith was just mentioning that having documented goals, and there's a couple documents that you can use from the Pathways Mentor Program. Catherine?
Yeah, for existing, a similar survey to that new member survey and member interest survey, which is kind of a category year for existing members. So somebody's been dropped off, or it might be worth being like, hey, this reviews this and see if anything sparks your interest.
So Catherine mentioned that there's a survey,
Member interest.
member interest survey that you can use as well for existing members to get some feedback from the whole group. I'll have to move on to the next session. Thank you for your questions. The tracking progress, that's what the Pathways progress chart. You can get a big paper copy from Toastmasters International displayed in your club, but there's people online. And what we've developed for the 3 clubs I'm part of is this online an Excel spreadsheet. We use this one for the Wild Oats and the Wascana Club. It summarizes, you know, the required projects, the electives, and one line for each path that the individual has. Keep track of what I do as a VP of Education. I indicate when they're going to give the speech, put the date in there, put a little red saying, yeah, that's when they're planning it, but they might change their mind when they do the speech. I'll let it light yellow indication, and then when they're finished, then it would be the yellow that you see in the slide. And I've included a handout of a blank Excel sheet that you can use that was sent out to everybody. And again, for any of the handouts, if anybody that's online can put their email addresses and get the handout sent out to them. So it's in Excel. Okay, whatever. One thing that we do is to post the link in your agenda, so it's always available. Members, you can ask to remind the speakers at the end of the meeting. Don't forget to go in here and track that you've completed this project or you've done the project. And for me, with the Wascana Club, it's a lot of new members, and I've found it was better to focus my energy on just using this as a progress for myself to keep everything straight. And ideally, what I'd like to do is have the time to have the individuals and put that extra effort into getting them to do that themselves. But it takes a fair bit of energy to change. So right now, that wasn't in the cards for me. Any questions about that?
So you mentioned the Wisconsin situation where you might have a lot of new members and a big influx of new people, but you only have a limited supply of potential mentors. What do you do in that situation?
Limited supply of potential mentors. That's why we use the group metric. I'm running short on time. Is any specific questions on the sign-up sheet? I'll move on. Multiple meeting or in the progress chart. So the next item is the multiple meeting sign-up sheet. It's circulated at the beginning of every meeting in the Wascana club meeting. We have a lot of in-person members, so it's very helpful. I don't know if you can see on the screen an example that the agenda is pretty much full for the next 5 weeks. We also have up to 10 weeks. There's fewer people that have signed up there, but people feel more comfortable signing up into the future. They're less likely to sign up for next one. You know, it works. You can see it here. So if you have people in person, it doesn't help for people online. If you're dominantly online, you'd have to come up with a little different strategy. Maybe something like a survey that they would complete. I'm not sure what it would look like. So at the end of the meeting, we review next week's agenda for people. So that's where the online people have a chance to take whatever's left over. And if they want to do something specific, well, they're going to have to go in later, you know, after the meeting and sign in for the future if they want to get the role that they want to do. Any questions, quick questions about that?